Okay, good morning. We're on the record in the 53rd Circuit Court for the County of Sheboygan. We are providing public access to the hearing, both in the courtroom and also online. And have a matter added on this morning. People of the state of Michigan versus Justin Stewart Bond. It's two file numbers, 22-6340 and 22-6389. Counsel, you want to please state your appearances for the record?
Melissa Goodrich, Wayne County Prosecutor.
Good morning, Your Honor. James Gilbert here on behalf of Mr. Bond, who's standing to my right.
Okay, and I have in front of me an amended information in both files and a plea agreement signed by all parties for both files. Is that how we're to proceed today?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And do you consent to the filing of the amended informations for the plea purposes?
I do.
All right. Mr. Bond, would you please raise your right hand as best you can for me? You solemnly swear that the testimony you're about to give in this matter will be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do, Your Honor.
Now, Mr. Bond, a guilty plea hearing is an important event because you have a lot of constitutional rights that are waived when you enter a plea. So I want you to listen very carefully. At any time, if you've got doubts, questions, or hesitations, please let me know. I'd be happy to explain something more for you or give you more time to talk to Mr. Gilbert. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
I have to advise you of the maximum penalties that you could expose yourself to by this plea. In file 6340, you're offering to plead guilty to a charge of attempted second-degree child abuse. That is a felony punishable by 5 years in prison with DNA profiling samples collected. And in file 6389, you're offering to plead guilty to a charge of an added count 3 of resisting or obstructing a deputy. That's a felony punishable by 2 years and or $2,000 fine with discretionary consecutive sentencing, which means that the maximum could be 5 years plus 2 years for the two files for a total of 7 years in prison. Do you understand the maximum that the law would allow for those crimes?
Yes, sir.
Are you on probation or parole anywhere?
No, sir.
And do you understand by pleading guilty, you will not have a trial of any kind and you'll be giving up the rights you would have had at that trial?
Yes, sir.
I want to remind you of the most important of those rights. You'd have the right to be tried by a jury and at that trial to be presumed innocent until the prosecutor proves your guilt beyond a reasonable doubt. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
At that trial, you'd have the right to have the witnesses against you appear. You could question them and you could present witnesses in your own defense and have me order those folks to appear. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
And at that trial, you could testify in your own defense if you wanted, or you could choose to remain silent and that silence would not be used against you in any way. Do you understand those rights?
Yes, sir.
You understand that those are some of the rights that you give up when you plead guilty?
I do, Your Honor.
And is that what you're choosing to do today?
Yes, sir.
If I accept your plea, you can't come back later and tell me that it was not your own free choice to enter it. Somebody pressured you or threatened you to enter it, or they promised you something outside the plea agreement to make you enter it. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Also, when you plead guilty, you lose the right to appeal. And if you wanted to appeal, you'd have to get permission by filing an application. And the types of issues you could raise on that application are much more limited than the types of issues you could appeal if you were convicted after a trial. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, the plea agreement provides that in exchange for your plea of guilty to the charges I outlined, the prosecutor will dismiss the remaining charges and the habitual notice. And there is a sentence agreement with two components. One, that any incarceration between the two files would be concurrent to each other. It would take that discretionary consecutive off. Secondly, that you would be sentenced for the minimum term on the sentence would be 36 months and you'd get credit for the time that you have served. And from speaking with the attorneys, my understanding is that will be above what the guidelines would tell me would be the appropriate sentence for these charges. But there are more serious charges that are being dismissed as part of this plea. Do you understand the terms of that plea agreement, Mr. Bond?
Yes, sir.
Mr. Gilbert, is that a full, fair, and accurate statement of his terms?
It is, Your Honor. Thank you.
Ms. Goodrich?
Yes.
Mr. Bond, that sentence agreement is not binding on me. If I did not want to follow it, I wouldn't have to. But if I did not follow it, you would be given a right to withdraw your plea. Or if I went below it, the prosecutor could withdraw the plea. Do you understand that?
Yes, sir.
Now, with one exception, if you engage in misconduct between now and the time of the sentencing, I don't have to follow that agreement and you would forfeit the right to withdraw the plea. Do you understand?
Yes, sir.
Other than the plea agreement, has anybody promised you anything to get you to plead guilty?
No, sir.
Has anybody threatened you to make you do so?
No, sir.
Is it your own free choice to do it?
Yes, sir.
Well, knowing all this, how do you wish to plead? Let's do the files one at a time, Mr. Gilbert. So in file 6340, how do you wish to plead to the charge of attempted second-degree child abuse?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Mr. Gilbert, would you assist with the factual basis?
I would be happy to, Your Honor. Sir, can you state your name for the record?
Justin Stewart Bond.
And were you the father of a little girl?
Yes, sir.
And her name was Elena Bond?
Eliana.
Not
Yes,
Ella
sir.
Bond, I'm sorry. And she passed away this past March, correct?
Yes, sir.
And prior to her passing, was it apparent to you that there was issues with her physical and health well-being?
Yes, sir.
And was it apparent that you should have sought medical treatment for her issues?
Yes, sir.
And you did not do so, did you?
No, sir.
And as a result, there was permanent injury to the child.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And you acknowledge that you should have got medical care for this child.
Yes, sir.
And again, you were aware that there was something wrong with the child, or the child was having medical issues that weren't normal.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And that took place, you were residing in Sheboygan County,
Yes, sir.
and that's where this whole thing took place with you and your child were living,
Yes, sir.
and that was in Sheboygan County, Michigan.
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions, Your Honor.
And Mr. Gilbert, are you satisfied with the factual basis for that charge?
I am.
Yes.
Mr. Bond, in file 6389, how do you wish to plead to the charge in count 3 of resisting or obstructing Deputy Dale Kalansky?
Guilty, Your Honor.
Mr. Gilbert, would you again assist?
I'd be happy to. Again, can you state your name for the record?
Justin Stewart Bond.
And my glasses here. In June of this year, you were incarcerated in the Sheboygan County Jail, correct?
Yes, sir.
And at some point in time, you decided to make your own implement out of a comb,
Yes, sir.
and it was a sharp implement, sort of like a knife.
Yes, sir.
Okay. And even though it wasn't your intent to harm anybody with that knife, it was for food or whatever other purpose.
Yes, sir.
You know, it was not, you weren't supposed to have that.
Yes, sir.
And at some point in time, one of the corrections officers asked you if you had this makeshift device,
Yes, sir.
and you denied having it and attempted to flush it down the toilet, correct?
Yes, sir.
And you were trying to do that so he wouldn't find it
Yes, sir.
and obstruct to him retrieving that from you.
Yes, sir.
And again, that happened in the Sheboygan County Jail.
Yes, sir.
I have no further questions. Thank you.
And are you satisfied with the factual basis in that charge, Mr. Gilbert?
I am. Thank you.
Mr. Burge?
Yes.
And Mr. Gilbert, are you aware of any other promises, threats, or inducements?
I am not.
Mr. Burge?
No, Your Honor.
Mr. Gilbert, in your judgment, has the court complied with 6.302?
The court has. Thank you.
Mr. Burge?
Yes.
All right, Mr. Bond, we've given you a lot of information. We've asked you a lot of questions. It's possible that some of that may have caused you to change your mind, which would be okay. I want to confirm with you what your free choice is today. Once you walk out this courtroom door, it's very difficult to withdraw a plea once it's accepted. So I ask you to confirm one more time, how do you wish to plead the charges of attempted second-degree child abuse and resisting or obstructing a police officer?
Both guilty, Your Honor.
All right, well, Mr. Bond, I find that your pleas are knowingly, understandingly, and voluntarily made, that there is a sufficient basis in fact and law for me to believe that you are guilty of those crimes. So I do accept your plea, in both files. We'll schedule sentencing for February 21st at 2:10 in the afternoon. Also have some pending bond issues. One of them is set for a contempt sentencing hearing on January 24th. We'll adjourn that. So I'm gonna order that the sentencing adjourn from February 24 to February 21. And in light of this disposition, Ms. Goodrich, any objection to dismissing the new show cause?
No objection.
That was the new show cause that was set for January 17th. That will be dismissed. So we'll take off the trial and the contempt sentencing of the show cause, and we'll schedule all matters to be heard then, the sentencing in both these files and the contempt sentencing in the 6340 for February 21st at 2:10 p.m. Bond continues to be revoked. And anything further from the defense,
No, Your Honor, thank
from the
you.
people?
No, Your Honor.
All right, we'll see you then, Mr. Bond.
Thank you, Your Honor.
Family division, so we'll terminate the live stream.